Hey everyone, it's Chad. Before we start the podcast, if you are watching us on YouTube or on Spotify, you're going to notice that midway through today's podcast, my camera cuts out. My camera died, and so the recording automatically switched to my computer webcam. We're obviously continuing to try to figure out this video thing, and so we appreciate your patience. Other than that, today's video and audio podcast should be good to go. And so without further ado, here is our Super Bowl 60 recap. Welcome to Crunching Tackles, where we break down the hardest hitting social issues in sports. On today's show, Super Bowl 60, in which the only person who was more anonymous than Kid Rock was Drake Maye. My name is Chad Wylie, and with me, as always, is John Nekrasov. John, how did you enjoy your Super Bowl 60 experience?
Just coming down straight from the top rope onto Drake Maye. That was absolutely brutal, but not as brutally as the Seahawks treated him yesterday. It was, when I remember Super Bowl 60, I think I won't remember it very much, to be honest, other than a few things. I think there were some noteworthy things, specifically in the Seahawks performance, of course, some halftime show highlights that we'll get to a little bit later. But ultimately, this game, I don't know how you felt just as a starting point, but to me, it felt like less of an event than it's been in the last few years. Like, it felt like, I mean, maybe it's just a kind of a symptom of the fact that, like, the celebrities attached to the Super Bowl this year were really not the same that they've been. You know, the Chiefs bring kind of, even though they're not necessarily a big TV market, they bring a superstar status with them. And the Eagles have so many huge personalities. And this year it was like two really defensive teams facing off against each other. And one of them was just unbelievably good. The Seattle Seahawks won 9-13 against the Patriots yesterday. And it was just not even close.
It was 29-13, but it felt like 40-0.
It felt like it could have been the Seahawks blowout of the Broncos, genuinely, in terms of the hope that the Patriots had. There was one moment in the game that I was like, you know what, maybe the Patriots have a shot. And that was in the fourth quarter, and they were down by 2 scores.
Yeah.
And that was basically, that was it.
I guess we should start with what you said, which is the season will be remembered by the Seahawks defensive team. This is a team that, for my book, is as good as any defense I've seen in like the 21st century. I think last time we podcast, we talked about kind of where you would put them as like a decade defining defense when you look at the 2012 to 2015 Seattle Seahawks or the Ravens or Steelers teams of the past. I think recently kind of the Houston Texans had been for a few years the defining defense with J.J. Watt. And I think now it is clear that the Seattle Seahawks are like the defining defense of the 2020s. And what they did to Drake Maye was surprising and frankly, it almost hard to watch at times. Drake Maye is very young. He's going to, continue to grow in confidence and experience and in skills. But for 3 quarters or so, he looked just completely lost, John.
You were seeing ghosts.
Yeah, I don't even know. I honestly don't know what he was seeing. He was throwing balls just into triple coverage, just nowhere. He got sacked like, 7 or 8 times?
I believe it was 6 times.
6 times.
One away from the Super Bowl record.
Yeah. And it just did not go well for him. And on the flip side, Sam Darnold did not do a lot, but he importantly didn't make mistakes. He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't throw any interceptions. He managed the game effectively. It was not the Sam Darnold that we saw against the Rams, where we thought, he's actually like throwing the ball down the field. That was not the case, but he did just enough. And Drake Maye just was not able to generate any sort of offensive production. And it's a really, really tough loss for someone as young as Drake Maye to take on the biggest stage. I'm sure he's going to be back, and I'm sure he's going to be better. But for 4 quarters, for 60 minutes, he did not look like a Super Bowl caliber quarterback.
Right, which is tough when you need the game to keep people's attention. You need it to be exciting, or you need the commercials to be exciting, or you need the halftime show to be the best thing ever. Yeah, again, we'll get to the halftime show in a little bit, but the commercials were certainly not there, and we'll get to that as well. I think last week in the preview show, I talked a little bit about what I think the key to this game will be, and the key to, in my book, all Super Bowl wins, and that is your four-man rush success, basically. In my opinion, if your defense can pressure the quarterback with four or less players rushing, you will most likely win the Super Bowl. Like, I would put that odds at like 80%, genuinely. And in this game, per NFL Next Gen Stats, Bill Barnwell over at ESPN was talking about this. He did a really nice in-depth article that I had time to kind of look over before the show. Drake Maye was pressured 48% of the time on four-man or less rushes. Like, he was just scrambling. And like, Drake Maye has been good this year, but when you
I think he finished second in MVP voting.
Right, but when you have the best defense in the league with Mike McDonald, a relatively new head coach who is just a defensive mastermind and now has won a Super Bowl before the age of 40, you know, he, much like Bill Belichick put Jared Goff in the blender, you know, a few years ago in the Rams Patriots Super Bowl, that honestly reminded me a lot of this one. You know, Drake Maye just could not see anything out there at all. And to me, the whole game is summed up. There was a moment, so he throws a touchdown to Mac Hollins in the fourth quarter, and we start to think like, oh, like they're not going to get shut out. Maybe the Patriots have a chance to start getting some momentum here. He starts putting a drive together. A couple drives later, he completes, I believe, like 2 or 3 passes, gets a couple first downs, and then he looks downfield in the next play and just chucks it just into complete no man's land, straight to a receiver, or to a safety who's just waiting there. And Chris Collinsworth, the color commentator on this game, just goes, I don't know what to say. And you're just like, it just completely summed up what this game was. Like, even the commentator had no answer for what the quarterback was doing there. And when you're having that kind of game, like, I don't think this loss was Drake Maye's fault by any means, but he had a QBR of 16.3, which is just rough. And the Patriots across the board, they had a fine defense, but like, to beat the Seahawks team, you need to do what the Rams did. The Rams-Seahawks game in the NFC Championship ended up being the Super Bowl, basically. And Stafford pushed the Seahawks defense to the brink and almost got them there, but it just still wasn't quite enough. In a defense of the offense of the Patriots caliber, was just never going to get this done.
What year was it that the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl?
Was it 22?
2021?
2021, yes.
Yeah, I mean, 21. I remember that in the aftermath of that game, you also talked about pressuring with 4 as a bit, you know, as like, you know, that was the first time that Mahomes had lost in the Super Bowl. That was Tom Brady's final ring. But we talked a lot about just how excellent that Buccaneers front line was and how they were putting Mahomes in really uncomfortable positions while only rushing 4 and covering with 7. And that's the exact same thing that we saw in this game. I had a couple just like stats and interesting tidbits that I wanted to just note about this game. I have to credit my dad, who I was unaware of the statistic. He told me, I don't know where he got it from, but going into this game, the Patriots were either going to win the most Super Bowls of any franchise, or they were going to lose the most Super Bowls of any franchise, which means they've been in the most Super Bowls of any franchise. And they did, in fact, break a tie with the Denver Broncos for the most Super Bowl losses. I believe they're now 6-6 total in Super Bowls, which is just interesting. Mike McDonald, you mentioned him. He is now the 3rd youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl, behind Mike Tomlin, his first Super Bowl, and Sean McVay Super Bowl win from a few years ago. Last statistic, Sam Darnold is the first quarterback in his quarterback class to win a Super Bowl, and that class includes multiple-time MVP Lamar Jackson, MVP Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and I believe Josh Rosen was also in that class. His career did not work out the way that I think people thought it would, but I think that if you had asked 2 or 3 years ago which one of those quarterbacks were most likely to win a Super Bowl, people probably would have put Sam Darnold 4th out of Baker and Allen and Jackson. And so for him to do that, like I said, it wasn't the most spectacular individual game performance by him, but a huge accomplishment for Darnold, who has played with 5 different teams, and, really had to toil away with the New York Jets for a while. And so it's nice to see him finally be in a position where he could actually thrive and show the amount of talent and ability that he has.
I do just think it's entertaining that we were talking about this before the show, that the New York Jets took Sam Darnold before either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, and then he ended up winning the Super Bowl first. So, maybe the talent identification there was actually not as far off as we thought. Obviously, that's a little bit tongue in cheek. I think Josh Allen with the Seahawks team would win like 4 Super Bowls in a row, but still, it's important. Also, just a note, I'm pretty sure the Eagles last year had the exact same pressure situation where Mahomes was just all over the place. I don't know that they blitzed one time last year. I'm pretty sure was the stat that I remember. So just an important note. I also wanted to note, this is a great crunching tackle story. Aiden Durd, I think is how you pronounce it, the Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator, is from London and is the former defensive coordinator for the London Warriors, which is like their semi-pro NFL style football team. He was a DC for the Cowboys before this, and now is the first British coach to win a Super Bowl, which is exciting for the growth of the global game.
Yeah, this was the same week when the NFL announced their first game in Australia will be taking place next year. So the international reach of the NFL continues to hit new heights, and that's exciting.
Is this a good transition point to the halftime show? Do you have anything else to say about the game?
Yeah, when we're talking about the NFL being a multicultural product, that was no more indicated than it was with the halftime show. Which one did you watch? No, I'm kidding.
I really did watch Bad Bunny after all. I did not tune into Kid Rock.
My takeaway from the halftime show, and I have a few other things I'd like to talk about. My big takeaway is that I thought that the most confusing part of the halftime show would be trying to understand Bad Bunny, because I don't speak or hear Spanish in any way, in a way that would cause me to be able to comprehend his lyrics. But the part I actually didn't mind just kind of vibing with Bad Bunny and just kind of, not knowing the words. What did confuse me is why Lady Gaga was there and why she was singing a cover of a Bruno Mars song.
Well, she's on the recording of the Bruno Mars song, right? Are you aware of this? It's a duet.
I guess that, yeah. Oh, yeah. That is, I didn't know. You're right.
It's her. So,
and why was Bruno, why?
Well, that was the question I was asking. As she came on stage, I said, if Bruno Mars appears to sing this with her, it immediately is the greatest halftime show of all time. The answer to that question,
his like third appearance, I think.
The answer to that question, Chad, is actually very simple, and it's this: if Bruno Mars appears for that song, immediately this becomes the Bruno Mars halftime show, and literally no one cares if Bad Bunny ever appears again in the show.
That's almost certainly true.
He's just the biggest star. I feel like you could argue that he's like a top 3 musician superstar right now, at the very least. And Bad Bunny is obviously popular in Latin America, but Bruno Mars has an appeal that I think goes way beyond that. I think Bad Bunny did fine. That was my take. I think I have no problem with, there was some controversy that I feel like is really a non-controversy and not something that we really need to. It's not a crunching enough tackle for us to really debate on this show. I have no problem with it being the show being in Spanish. However, I think I would have liked to have it cater a little bit more to an English audience, like at least put subtitles on the TV feed or in the stadium or something. Like I thought the production design was really cool. I thought the cinematography was really cool. But I did feel like it wouldn't be that hard to translate his songs and not just like completely leave out the majority English speaking audience that would have been watching the game. So that was just a minor quibble, but I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that there was a real wedding that took place as part of the ceremony. And then they're kind of like the reception. They're all kind of like dancing on the roof of a building, cutting cake. And I found out pretty soon after I saw it that was in fact like a genuine legal wedding that happened, which was cool. I saw in the background Pedro Pascal was there, which was also a nice call out to me. I noticed him, clocked him right away, which was great. I felt like it was a good dance party for me, right? I have no, Kendrick Lamar, I came on here and I talked about his lyrics because of like what he did and what I knew about him. I don't know a single Bad Bunny lyric, but you don't have to understand like the rhythms and the flow of what he's doing. And it looked like a fun multicultural party that represents, the other parts of two continents that we're connected to that also matter in American culture.
Right, very much so. I would like to take this moment, though, to really give the spotlight to my musical star of the Super Bowl, which was Charlie Puth, who put in what I would say is probably if we accept Whitney Houston as like the number one best Super Bowl anthem performance of all time, to me Charlie is like 2 or 3 along with Chris Stapleton from last year. We are in an all-time heater run with Chris Stapleton and Charlie Puth coming up back to back. It was so good. I have listened to it multiple times, and it made my day.
Has he been your guy for a while?
He's like not like my like number one guy, but like I'm always a Charlie Puth advocate. He is a musical genius. He has perfect pitch, if you don't know, and loves to just do all kinds of fun musical concoctions in interesting ways, and helps other stars write songs.
I thought it was an excellent national anthem. The pre-show was done by Green Day, which was funny. Yeah, I feel like overall the Super Bowl as a game was disappointing. We were hoping for a close game, especially I think with so many people that I talked to who were neutrals. These were not, at least where I live, these were not two teams that generate a whole lot of support. And so I think when there's a lot of neutrals, you're hoping for a drama. We didn't get it, but I thought that the production around the Super Bowl, the job done by NBC, the halftime show, it still ended up being, for the most part, an enjoyable show. And it's one of those games where you end up just kind of talking through the second half with whoever you're watching it with. And, that's okay too. They can't all be Patriots Falcons.
Right. Which is true. We've had 2 beatdowns in a row now, I think is what's tough. Like we've had the NFC team back to back beat down the AFC team pretty hard for 2 straight years. And so that starts to feel a little bit like we want a competition in the Super Bowl. And obviously Chiefs 49ers, I guess it would be now, I'm doing math, like 3 years ago, was the last time that it felt like, I mean, we went to overtime, it was dramatic. The Chiefs were still the better team, but like it was an entertaining battle. And this was obviously not that, but still ultimately a year that was marked by Seattle just being a dominant force that ultimately looked unstoppable from the beginning of the playoffs, and that ended up being true.
Is there a matchup that you would like to predict or that you would like to see for next year's Super Bowl?
Well, maybe we should just talk about the predictions real quick. Speaking of this year first, we just Seahawks 29-13 was the score. You said 27-21. I said 31-21. So we both picked the game right. The spread was obviously a little bit different, but we just need to give a shout out to you because before the playoffs, you predicted the Seahawks to win this game, and it ended up happening. So yeah, that's just an important note for the podcast.
I don't know how much credit I deserve for picking what was, by every statistical measure, by far the best team in football. But obviously, the best team doesn't always win.
Yeah,
and
still
so, yeah. Thank you. Next year, just for fun, how great would Bears Texans be?
There's no way the Texans are doing it.
Stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened.
Do you think if the Chiefs aren't back, then the Texans might run through that division again?
But it's Stroud. There's no way. To me, there's no way. I like where your head's at. I think for fun, why not? Bears, but I'm going to go.
You could say Steelers.
Aaron Rodgers leads the Steelers back, all the way. I'm running through the AFC and I'm just like, wow, all these teams are really bad. That's my challenge when it comes down to it.
The Bills don't have a head coach right now.
No.
We don't trust the Ravens. We know nothing about the Chiefs. Will the Patriots be back? Will the Texans take a step up? There's a lot. I mean, is Jacksonville going to take a step forward?
Are the Bengals going to come back? The answer is no.
Will Burrow make a second Super Bowl before Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen make one?
You know what? This is like a complete just throw up in the air. So I'm going to say, why not? I'm going to say, no, I'm going to say the Broncos. I'm going to say Broncos, Bears. Super Bowl.
So Bo Nix recovers.
Yes.
And puts together, gets back to where he was on trajectory to be this past year.
Yeah, that took me a long
Yeah.
time. I thought through it in real time. We can edit out my endless pauses
It's fine.
as I pondered. But
Everyone on YouTube would love to sit and watch you think.
right, to me, this Super Bowl would have been Broncos Seahawks in a just world where Bo Nix didn't get injured on a freak injury on the last play of that game. Like, Bo Nix beat the Bills with Josh Allen and outperformed one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I think offensively, Bo Nix would have smashed through this Patriots team, and we would have had a real game on our hands. And so I think that's going to be my pick.
Awesome. John, we usually talk a lot about the commercials, and we're not going to do that this time because they weren't good enough. And this is the second year where we've had, second year that we've come on this podcast and talked about how bad it's been.
Right. Yes.
Do you have any takeaways from the commercials that you want to, any big picture insights that you'd like to share?
Yes, I would like to. It's all summed up by the Coinbase Backstreet Boys karaoke ad that everyone was singing along to in my Super Bowl party until the song gets wiped and it's like brought to you by Coinbase, and groans in my room and across America were heard everywhere you were listening. And it was just the most obvious example of how far we have fallen in the Super Bowl ads. Like, that is what it was, all gambling and AI ads. None of them were interesting. None of them were fun. There was like one noteworthy Squarespace one with Emma Stone that was kind of bonkers and sort of funny, but it wasn't like generational. And the Dunkin' ad this year was just utterly bizarre. It was
made by AI.
Was it actually AI generated?
I mean, it looks like all of those. Generated. Yeah, it looks AI generated.
It was literally. I just had a terrible time. None of them. It literally was, I think, the worst year of Super Bowl ads ever, and last year was the worst year. So,
yeah,
I'm ashamed.
I thought that, I don't remember last year very well, but it felt like I had never seen so many ads, not made by AI, although I think some were, but for AI companies.
Yes,
that felt a little bit different this year. It felt like that was maybe the most common ad I saw, more than the American staple, more than beer and more than potato chips. I feel like I saw mostly ads for AI companies or like cryptocurrencies. What did I like? You mentioned the Squarespace Emma Stone commercial. I liked, and this is silly, but I liked the Xfinity Jurassic Park commercial.
I was going to bring that one up.
Yep. If they had better internet security, maybe Jurassic Park would have worked out great.
I just appreciate that. Yeah, it was great. It was the only one that I laughed at.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the ads kind of underlined that, like, the pageantry of the Super Bowl was a little off quite often. The Super Bowl ad was pronounced dead on the show last year. It is not able to be resuscitated this year, and I'm starting to worry that it may just be permanently dead. Like, maybe we need to bury the Super Bowl ad. Maybe it's been like in the coroner's office for a little bit, just kind of waiting to see if we can get some life back in there. But I do think that it's time to head over to the graveyard.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I feel like I looked pretty closely. I did not see Coca-Cola or Doritos.
Nope, there's no Doritos for sure. There was Pepsi. There was one Pepsi polar bear ad.
But those are three of like the brands that you always think like, oh, M&M's gonna have at least something interesting, like and Doritos as well. They didn't have a commercial. I don't know if that's due to inflation or what caused that, but that really surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it was just not interesting at all, and I think there are so many economic reasons for it, but I think a lot of it is just ultimately brand laziness. Like, the companies that created these ads think so little of us that they can entertain us with just nonsense and AI slop, and it's not compelling at all. Which, the Claude anti-chat GPT ads were a little bit funny, but still, like, they're also advertising AI, so I don't care.
Yeah. Overall, I think we agree that it was a fairly forgettable night.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, it's not going to be remembered, I think, in 10 years. I don't think any part of it will be. However, we always love the Super Bowl. So we're happy to experience it, happy to podcast about it, and we will look forward to it again next year.
We will indeed. And I think the one thing we will remember is the Seattle defense. Like, to me, this year ends up being the Seattle defense was the best unit in football. The Seattle special teams was the best unit in football. Shout out to, what was his name? Michael Dixon, who just literally rocked out with the punting unit yesterday.
He had
Multiple
a punt at
punts
the
inside the
1.
5. Yeah,
He had a
like
punt at the
just
6.
it was beautiful. It was everything you want to see. Between that and the kicking renaissance with field goals in the NFL this year, football has never been closer to actually using your feet than it is right now, which as a British football fan is something that I very much appreciate.
So my wife has asked to come on the podcast, and she has asked if there's an opportunity for her to make a case to abolish field goal kicking entirely from professional football.
I think that would be an interesting debate.
I'm not going to make the case for her, but I think that given the amount of games this playoff that were decided by a kicker, Megan has had she is over this, and so she has been on a crusade this entire playoffs that field goal kicking should be completely abolished from the NFL.
Well, I would like, obviously, invites are always open to both Megan and Katie to come on and defend any stances they would like to.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, I would like Megan to come on at some point and defend that case, because I think there are pros and cons.
I'll have to gauge your interest. So next time we pod, we're going to have a lot to talk about with the Olympics. We were definitely going to talk about Lindsey Vonn one way or the other, and unfortunately, it has gone just the absolute worst way for her. And other than that, I've been watching lots of women's hockey and mixed curling, and I've been enjoying it.
We love the mixed curling. Team USA has been doing pretty well so far. Yeah, the Lindsey Vonn story, we'll get to it in detail next time. I don't want to make light of it because it's very tough for her. But we were talking before the injury. We were like, how can you ski with no ACL? And then I guess the answer is you can't. But
the answer is
I don't know
just a huge risk.
I don't know what the decision-making process was like there. But anyway.
Yeah. This podcast will hopefully come out either tonight on Monday or tomorrow on Tuesday. Tuesday, Manchester United have their opportunity to win their 5th game in a row under Michael Carrick, our new manager, which for me personally would be great because my algorithm on social media has been the
Haircut
poor
guy.
Manchester United fan who for more than 480 days has been unable to cut his hair because of a pledge he made regarding Manchester United. And a win against West Ham tomorrow would finally allow him to rid himself of just one of the most unbelievable afros I've ever seen.
It was a real choice by him. Where, I think on a person-to-person level, I wish for him that this happens because I just can't imagine having that much hair. It just looks so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's been going on, like I said, for like 480 days, and he said that this was so. Like when we beat Tottenham on Saturday morning, he said this was actually the first time since he made the challenge that United had even gotten to 4. And his goal was obviously, he said he wouldn't cut his hair till Manchester United won 5 games in a row. And they had never actually even got to 4. And so now they have number 5 tomorrow. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited to watch
West
it.
Ham.
And and it's draw. He doesn't. A draw would also start getting back to 0.
That's why.
It's wins. Yeah. So
there's a lot riding on kids. This is why you never make sports related promises like that. Is all I'm going to say.
I shouldn't come on here and say I'm not going to cut my hair until the Pittsburgh Steelers win the Super Bowl.
No, you should never do that.
I will not do that. Anything else for the people today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else today, John?
No, thank you all, of course, for following us through this whole NFL season, for following us along on social media. If you're watching us there on YouTube, per usual. If you like our content, if you're enjoying it, please share it with your friends because that definitely helps us grow and reach more people. We've been having a great time reaching y'all and hitting the YouTube airwaves of late. So fun to be here and get some smaller shows and smaller segments out whenever we have time.
Our goal was a half hour, and we just about did it. So until next time, we hope that you all continue to be well and be safe, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Cheers, guys.